model is the key communication tool for a set designer. Rough or sketch models are made during the early stages of the design process. Then a white model is made and eventually a finished model. A white model is quite literally a three-dimensional blueprint of the intended design. It gives no information on color, little on texture and materials, but all the most essential information on space, structure, movable elements and their practical implications are found in the white model. The only fundamental rule in model building is that anything that has a significant physical bearing on the set space, such as a pillar, steps, opening doors, railings, need to be represented in 3D, whereas anything that is a shallow decoration or wood paneling or a curtain can be left as drawn. For example, a modern radiator could be just drawn, but an older, more bulky type, in that case the drawing needs to be pasted and cut out and added separately using card of an appropriate thickness. In these photographs you can see how the curtains have been drawn, the wood paneling has been drawn, the baseboard and molding at the bottom of the walls that are also being drawn, but the bookcase has been built three-dimensional, and so are the doors, and they open wherever they will need to open on set. The following individual points are also worth noting. The base on which the model is mounted should be flat and secure enough to be a good support. Doors, shutters or removable parts need to work in the model within reasons. For example, it is easy enough to halfway cut through card to make a working door, but it would be unreasonable to expect a working roller blind. Windows, which are meant to be see-through or transparent, also need to be see-through in the model and can be cut out of thin acetate to make it clear that they are transparent. Slender structures, such as stair banister or metal railings, could be drawn with permanent ink on an acetate sheet. There should be no shortcuts taken when representing steps. These are some of the materials used in model building: an X-Acto knife, a matte knife, any kind of white glue, tacky glue or Sobo glue would be very helpful. A mat or cutting board will be helpful. Any kind of spray glue will work really well, and strips of balsa wood or basswood. Generally, the first thing we do after the ground plan of our set is finished is we'll make a copy of it, and then we will spray with a spray glue and mount it on a piece of foam core or foam board. Then we'll cut it out the shape of the ground plan. Keep in mind that when cutting foam board or foam core, it is better to cut it slowly by going back to the same point 2 or 3 times, because foam core is made with 2 layers of paper on top of foam. You don't want to try to cut it with too much pressure or you will bend the edges. Also be really careful when using one of these knives and try to cover the part that you want to save with your ruler. When you use an X-Acto knife, angle it diagonally for a better cut. When joining foam board or foam core, use any kind of white glue or Sobo glue. Do not use any of the toxic glues or you will melt the foam core. Another good material would be illustration board, and it glues really easily again with a white glue. The next material will be cardstock or any kind of thin cardboard. Then acetate or any kind of clear plastic to represent windows. And the last would be balsa or basswood, which can be sold in dowels or in thin sheets. And it could be helpful also to build furniture. Illustration board or Bristol board or cardstock or balsa wood are very helpful for model building, and they're all pretty easy to cut. Now let's look at an example. Again, a ground plan has been glued over illustration board. Then the vertical walls are being glued on top of the ground plan. Then a roof is added to the building. In this case, the effect that the designer wanted was a thatch roof texture, and this was obtained with aluminum foil glued on top of cardboard and then combed with a regular comb. This is the finished look. In this case, first the building was measured on top of the cartoon, then it was cut. And remember, you need to have the size of your individual person in quarter-inch scale. Then the doors were placed on top of the shape of the house, drawn, cut out, doors and windows. Then everything was painted white. Then strips of balsa wood were added to represent the real look of the building, and they were added in excess and eventually cut off. This is much easier to do than trying to cut the exact shape and size. Then for the roof, some fake fur was bought in a craft store, then painted yellow and brown, and then attached to the cottage. And this is the finished cottage. Model building for sets always starts with a ground plan and some kind of drafting of the walls of your entire set. It is much easier to do it this way. Then everything is put together and it becomes a white model, and some pieces of furniture are added. When dealing with curves or any curved structure in a model, whether concave or convex, this can be done with illustration board or light cardboard. After getting a good idea of the length of the card you need to complete the curve, cut a piece to size but with some extra length. Then make repeated and regular spaced half cuts, where you do not actually cut completely through the board. These cuts should be equally spaced, and the more cuts you have, the easier it is to bend the board. Then you can glue your piece in position, and remember to start on one side, make sure that one side is completely glued, and then go around to glue the other side. When doing stairs, even a simple staircase may take some time. The best is first make sure that you have the standard acceptable proportion for a staircase in terms of height of the step versus width of the steps. Make sure that you know the height that you want your staircase to reach and the distance that the staircase will occupy when on stage. Once the dimensions are sorted out, two identical profile side views need to be drawn up and cut. This will become the sides of a freestanding stair box. After checking for a reasonable match between the two sides, the profile pieces need to be fixed in a position when they are upright, the right distance apart, parallel, and basically synced. Then cut strips of card exactly the right width for gluing between the uprights and cut all the riser pieces from it. Glue them all together and you have a staircase. You can also do a staircase without all this excess if you want a staircase that is lighter. Still cut out your risers, put them together, and eventually cut out the board to be placed on top. This is a little bit trickier. When doing a spiral staircase, you kind of follow the same steps, in which first you start from the drawing, then you cut out all the pieces based on the drawing, cut out all the rise of the staircase and put it together with the step, attaching them in the center pillar, one by one, and you will get your spiral staircase. Again, keep in mind that the spiral staircase is very tricky to make, so it may not be a good choice for a beginner. Another element that you will want to make if you're doing a staircase will be a railing. Again, the easiest way to approach this is first to draw it, then cut it out, and then glue it. Here you can see the difference between student models and professional model. This is a student model. It's a white model, and you can see that there are some issues with the staircase. Everything that needed to be three-dimensional has been built three-dimensionally. This is also a student model, and everything that is decorative elements, like these decorative elements on the walls, has been just drawn to the walls. In this model, the student tried to represent a curtain with real fabric. Real fabric is a little too thick in quarter-inch scale. You can just take a piece of paper and draw the curtain. It will be easier and cleaner. This is a very good student model. Everything that needs to be three-dimensional is, everything is very precisely drawn, and it gives a great representation of what the set will look on stage. In this student model, to represent a tree, the student just went outside and took a little tree branch and glued it on the model. That's a great use of resources. In contrast, this is a professional designer model. You can see that the majority of details are drawn, and what is three-dimensional, it's basically the structure of the model. Now let's follow a full design process from a rough sketch to a white model under lights. But then let's see how this was actually built. When we look at the front, it looks like a pretty nice white model. Right amount of details, steps are built, railings are built, doors are built. Then when we look on the side and back, we realize that all of this has been made with recycling. Boxes of cornflakes and popcorn have been used to make this model. From the back, it doesn't necessarily look that great anymore. This is a great way to do a model without spending any money. Just use your recycling. Collect a few boxes and you will be almost done. In the end, to give that clean look, everything was painted white, and this could be achieved with any kind of acrylic white paint, or even spray paint in white. In terms of furniture are really tricky to make in quarter-inch. Again, try to use any kind of cardboard or cardstock. It's easy to cut. Or you can also make them with any kind of molding material. There are also quarter-inch furniture that you can find online and print, cut, and glue together. So for this class, our homework assignment, the set design model, first collect some recycling, cardboard boxes, paper, etc. Cut out a proscenium frame that will fit into your ground plan. In reality, it will be 35 feet by 25 feet, but in quarter-inch scale, it will be 6 1/4 by 8 3/4. Cut out all walls and glue them to a floor. Probably you want to make a copy of your original ground plan. Then draw every detail that is not necessary to build. Add your furniture and a human being that is 6 feet tall, which in quarter-inch means 1.5 inches. This will be how to do your assignment. There will be samples posted on Moodle. This is the end of today's lecture.